More disturbing news about the unfortunate passing of Rob and Michele Reiner that their son Nick caused. We got to talk about this, but before we get into it, hello, my name is Sebastian and I spill pop culture tea videos every single day. I am so grateful and thankful to be here with you all. Now, before we get started, what we're going to be reading today is very difficult to read, but it is something that is happening right now, and a lot of you guys wanted me to continue reporting on this, so I will be reporting on it because it also has to do a lot with mental health, so I thought that I would put my own spin on it, or not spin, but conversate the way I would about mental health, because you guys know I take mental health very serious. And so I'm not going to be my usual bubbly self. So just to let you guys know, if you want to see the real me, go to the other videos. But tea comes in all types of flavors, and this is just not even considered tea. This is just such a disgusting and disturbing update and news about this very, very tragic accident. So Nick Reiner, their son, was diagnosed with schizophrenia before he committed the crime he did against his parents. The medications he was taking were allegedly making him act erratic and dangerous. Sources told TMZ that Nick was under the care of psychiatrists for mental illness, claiming that his behavior had become alarming in the weeks leading up to his parents' unfortunate passing. About a month before the passing, doctors reportedly changed Nick's meds, at which point he became out of his head. They were reportedly in the process of adjusting his meds to stabilize when the tragedy struck. Nick had recently received care at an expensive Los Angeles-based rehab facility that specializes in mental health and substance abuse, according to the outlet, which noted that Nick's substance usage worsened the schizophrenia. Schizophrenia is a chronic brain disorder characterized by delusions, hallucinations, disorganized speech, trouble with thinking, and lack of motivation. Nick is reportedly expected to plead not guilty by reason of insanity. His lawyer, famed criminal defense attorney Alan Jackson, did not immediately respond to Page 6 request for comment. Nick, who lived in his parents' guest house in Brentwood, has a history of violence and substance abuse. He has been to rehab almost 20 times and experienced bouts of homelessness. On Sunday afternoon, Rob and Michele, who were 70, were found by their daughter Romy Reiner, unfortunately already passed away. Nick was arrested Sunday night near a park in downtown LA after reportedly leaving behind evidence at a hotel in Santa Monica. He was originally booked in downtown LA's Parker Center Jail before being transferred to Twin Towers Correctional Facility, where he is being held without bail. On Tuesday, he was charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder with a special circumstance of multiple murders. Nick is facing a maximum sentence of life in prison without the possibility of parole or the death penalty. He made his first court appearance Wednesday with disheveled hair. He remained stoic, I don't know that word, bitch, and somber throughout the hearing. Looking straight ahead, he was shackled at both hands and feet and wore an anti-suicide smock. Nick spoke only 3 words during his appearance to tell the judge, "Yes, Your Honor," confirming that he was sure he wanted to waive his rights to a fast arrangement. Following the short hearing, Jackson announced reporters outside the courthouse that his client would be arraigned on January 7th. He also asked the public to not rush to judgment or jump to conclusion, as he described the case as very, very complex and serious. The night before the passing of Rob and Michele, Nick joined them at a Christmas party at Conan O'Brien's house. The couple was reportedly reluctant to leave him home alone because his extreme and stressful behavior had escalated and grown degrees even more concerning in recent weeks. Okay. Nick resented his dad and hated himself for not being talented. So he was dealing with a lot of hostile and volatile dynamic in his family, and he was angry most of the time, and it was always directed at his parents. Sources describe Nick as spoiled and unappreciative nepo baby. So, when it comes, of course, to mental health, there is definitely I do believe that there should always be a conversation had, because I do believe that after these unfortunate incidents, this is when we can learn more about certain situations like medication, diagnosis, and what to do while adjusting medications. You know, it says here that, Rob and Michele were very concerned in the past weeks with his very erratic and dangerous behavior. And I do believe that then I do think that, they should have done something to remove him from the premises and be in a care facility. As was reported, he's been to rehab over 20 times. The first thing I think about is their daughter who found them. I mean, that just, it takes my breath away with anxiety of what she must be feeling. And I can't even begin to try to even comprehend how this person is feeling. And I do pray for her, because I can't imagine what she's feeling. I also feel really bad for Rob and Michele, living with this, and with seeing their son act this way, from substance abuse, mental health, homelessness, dangerous acts, erratic behaviors. Dealing with that for many, many years must have been also so terrible. And then having their lives end, with his hands. I can't even picture it. I have been reading a lot of comments, and I've been reading a lot of people's, not theories, but what they believe that should be done. A lot of people believe that he should be put in a mental institution. I will read some of the comments saying, "We knew the insanity case was coming. That is not surprise. But what does not benefit him are the cameras showing him walking past the gas station, calmly buying a Gatorade, standing in line to pay for it, and being able to check out. They're, of course, in a hotel. Most importantly, knowing that he did commit the crime because he put sheets on the windows and took a shower to remove the blood. That does not scream insanity, and prosecutors are going to have to prove it." Another one said, his parents maybe did not want him to have the diagnosis for years. This is very late to get that initial diagnosis. And so it begins. Masters of show trials about to perform. Another one says, "Our son is schizophrenic. He was diagnosed as a teenager. He could become violent when off his meds. He punched holes in the wall. He tried to stab his grandmother with a fork, but he also knew right from wrong. Self-medication didn't help. It took years to get the right combo of meds. He's now in his 40s. He lives with us, and we monitor his meds. He also knows he can't go off of them. For the people who call for institutionalization, there are two available: the streets and prison." Another one says, "The entire psych profession needs to be very carefully evaluated. These so-called psych doctors need to be put on trial. They knew he was a danger, and there are so many cases like this." Another one said, if in fact this is true, why wasn't he in a clinic or the hospital until he was stable? It makes no sense to have his elderly parents try to manage an extremely mentally ill adult child on their own." That's most of the comments, saying that they should not have had to keep him at their house because they did not know how to handle it. And of course, it caused this horrible situation. So I will definitely be keeping you guys updated when more things come out. I normally don't talk about these situations, but a lot of you guys wanted me to talk about it in my way. I think mental health is such a touchy subject, and you know, I honestly, at this very moment, I just pray for all the family members of Rob and Michele, and, you know, especially their daughter who found them. Like, it is just in my heart right now. So what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear from you all. I appreciate you guys so much, and I'll see you on the next one. Mwah.